Hi guys, it's Rachel. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I did this look tonight. I was just playing around with makeup with my Vivette palette. It is from Adept and it's on sale right now. And I was just looking at myself and I feel like I look too good to not share it with the world. So even though I didn't film this look, I did want to film a video so that, you know, somebody besides my mirror could appreciate this look. So today I want to do something kind of inspired by Kelly Gooch's Makeup Musings, where she just sits down and discusses her thoughts on certain topics within the beauty industry. And what I want to discuss, which is something that has been on my mind for a little while, is how getting treatments like fillers and Botox or anything that you do to your face when you're reviewing face makeup products and skincare products, like how that affects your review and the ups and downs of it and all that. So if that sounds like an interesting conversation to you, then let's jump into it. Quick disclaimer before I get into the video, I do want to say I am not judging or putting any hate on anybody who has had cosmetic work done. If it makes you happy and you have the money and, you know, all of that, like, it's your body, do what you want. I'm not trying to hate on anybody with cosmetic work done. You do you do what's right for your body. This video is more about on whether or not that information should be disclosed, not on whether or not getting cosmetic work done in the first place is okay. So it's totally up to you what you do with your body, and if you want to, you know, freeze your forehead or put filler in your lips, like, you do you. There is no judgment here. This is just a discussion on disclosure. All right, let's get into the video. Can we just take a moment for the sparkle of these shadows? I hope it's picking up. And I use the shadows as highlight too, so that should be pretty sparkly and blinding, but ooh. Okay, now that I blinded myself with my flashlight, the first question I want to pose and discuss is it misleading to the consumers and to the viewers if you are a beauty reviewer and you do not disclose that you have had Botox or fillers or whatever it may be? Is that misleading? And my argument for that it could be misleading is if you're gonna be thorough enough to mention your skin type, your age, all of your qualities that impact, you know, how, say, a foundation sits on your skin or a primer sits on your skin, but you have your forehead frozen and smoothed out to, like, I have lines on my forehead. I am almost 36. In June I will be 36, and I trusted some reviewers when they told me a product was amazing, and I didn't zoom in to see that they had frozen foreheads. So when they said, hey, I'm 35 to 40 with this skin type and this works amazing for me, you know, me being a trusting person took those reviewers at their word, bought a product, it settled into my forehead lines and made me look like a million years older, and I hated it, and I felt like I had been misled. So from that, you know, personal experience, it does seem like, you know, it can be misleading for people, even with like lip products. If you have lip fillers, that affects how lip products sit on your lips and how those perform. You know, if there's no lines for anything to settle in, you're not going to be able to say whether it works in that aspect. And an argument for, it not being something that they should disclose and it not being misleading could be that, one, it's their body, their choice. It's nobody else's business what they do with their body. Although the counter argument to that is they're literally using their face as like the review canvas. But it's their body. They don't have to tell us shit. And also, should consumers be savvy enough by now to be able to visually recognize when somebody has had something filled or Botoxed or whatever it may be? Should that responsibility be on the consumer to be able to visually assess that for themselves and take that into account when they're listening to the review, versus the responsibility to disclose those things to be on the creator who is reviewing the product and like giving you their age, their skin type and everything, but leaving out the fact that they have lines nowhere to be seen even though they're like 40. So there's arguments for either side, and I'm still unsure, like part of me feels in that one example of, I trust people, I take people at their word, and I felt misled when I bought a product and it like settled like crazy into my lines and I looked horrible. And then I zoomed in and looked at some of the girls that I had listened to, and they may not have said they have had Botox, but I mean, their lack of being able to like scrunch up their forehead and seeing those expression lines there and it just being perfectly frozen and smooth says otherwise. So I do feel like it can be misleading, but also should the consumer be more savvy? I don't know. I'd like to hear your opinions on that, and if you have any other points to throw into that conversation, leave them in the comments down below. I do have another aspect of this that I want to talk about. I don't want this video to be forever long, but there's more that I want to talk about. And that is, besides it being misleading as far as how products are going to perform and how it affects our purchasing decisions and misleading us that way, is it misleading to the viewers to not disclose these things when you're representing yourself as someone from a certain demographic, but you're not disclosing that you've had these XYZ things done to your face? For instance, again, me personally, 35 going on 36, I have fine lines in my forehead, like the little 11 lines. I'm starting to get lines around my eyes, and like I can get things settling in here. Like, I've had nothing done to my face cosmetically besides braces, which I had when I was like 20 years old. So I mean, I don't even know if braces really is a cosmetic thing, but I think some people count that as cosmetic. But this is like what I was born with, and skincare, but like not injectable skincare. So anyway, when I look at women online or influencers and reviewers online who are representing themselves as in my demographic, like my age group, my skin type, all of that, and I look at them and they look freaking ageless, I sometimes internalize that and feel like I'm a wrinkly old hag and I feel terrible about myself. And so there is also the argument that not disclosing these things, but at the same time disclosing your age group and all of that, is misleading to the consumer in what they should expect that age to look like, and it can really affect the self-perception and self-esteem of the viewers. On the other hand, again, should the viewer be savvy enough to be able to discern the difference between injected skin and non-injected skin? Like, am starting to be more savvy and less just take people at their word. And I've tried to become more observant and train myself. And I feel like that's a skill you have to build. I don't think it's a natural thing. If someone says like, I'm this age and this is my skin, I'm gonna think, wow, you're like all these celebrities who got the facelifts and look like they're 20 years old when they're 40. Like if I didn't know what they looked like before and I just saw them and they're like, yeah, I'm 40 and I just use amazing skincare, you know, my trusting self might believe them and then internalize that and feel like shit because I don't look 20. I mean, I feel like I look on the younger side for my age, but I don't look 20 and I have fine lines, and it can make your audience feel like shit about themselves because you're portraying yourself as someone who is like them, but you're not. I mean, I personally, of the people that I am close to, don't know anybody who has had anything injected into their face like that in real life. I know people online, like online friends who have, but in real life, people I see in person, I don't see any people in my daily life or weekly or monthly life in person who have these injected faces. Like, that is not normal to me. To me, the normal average person my age is aging naturally. That's what's I'm experiencing around me. So to me, the default setting and the default assumption is for me to assume that you haven't had anything done. And if you say, this is the age I am, I have mature skin, fine lines and wrinkles, it is my default to believe that you haven't had anything done and this is what your skin looks like at this age in its natural state. And like I said, I've had to train myself to become more savvy and be more aware of when people aren't mentioning that they've had things done. But it can really affect the viewer's self-image and confidence and all of that. So that's another aspect of it, of where it doesn't necessarily affect how they make purchases and spend their money, but it really, just like seeing all those photoshopped and airbrushed models in magazines when us millennials were growing up, it can really be internalized and mess with your head. And so again, that begs the question, is it misleading or irresponsible even for product reviewers and influencers to say, you know, I'm this age group, I have maturing skin and fine lines, and not disclose that they have injected their face with Botox and fillers, etc., like filled their hollowness or filled their smile lines or whatever it may be? Is that irresponsible or misleading, or is it all on consumers to be more savvy? I would say it's a mixture of both. But that was the second side of the coin that I wanted to touch on, that not only could it possibly be a detrimental thing when you're looking into reviews and how the reviews are affected by someone's skin who has been altered, but how you view people around you and you view yourself and what is normal. And you know, it can really make you feel bad. So again, I'd love to hear any thoughts or comments or any additional points for that question as to whether or not it is, you know, irresponsible to not disclose because of how it affects the consumers and the viewers, like, mentally. I don't think there's any regulations. There's definitely more like regulatory or at least platform boxes that you can check to mark whether things are AI, but I don't think there's anything to mark whether you as a person are altered, just if things are like artificial, like artificially generated like AI images and voices and things like that, but I don't think there's any platform out there that has anything to mark your post or your video on whether you edited the photo, used a filter, or used injectables and changed how things would look otherwise. I think that would be cool if that was like a box you could check and you could just see like a little notice at the top like, this person has altered skin or whatever, but I feel like it probably wouldn't be able to be that simple because there's so many different things that one can do to one's face. Like, I swear I find out about a new cosmetic treatment or procedure like every week. Like chin lipo, blepharoplasty, all those things. Like, there's so many things that you can do to your face that will alter how it looks and, you know, people's perception and product performance. So I don't think it would be that simple, but I feel like that whole thing of influencers online having things done and not disclosing it is like this time and this era's photoshopped models and magazines, and it's kind of sad. I'm gonna stop rambling now because I've been rambling on this topic for about 15 minutes. I'm hopefully gonna be able to edit in some like images to give you an idea of what I'm talking about and maybe make this a little more of a visually entertaining video. I'm trying to work on my editing and incorporate more things like that. So I'd also love your feedback on my editing, and if you like that change with my videos. And please have a respectful and, you know, pleasant conversation down in the comments when you're speaking on these topics. If you do not keep it respectful, I will delete your comment and potentially block you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you have not already. I will see you guys next time. Bye!